guys, welcome to this week's Sound the Alarm. I am here with Andy Baker. If you don't know him, that's Andy B in the world. He came out with an album called The First One. A really cool thing about this album is how it was made. Now, it took 4 years to make.
Yeah, 4 years.
It has what I think is probably the most exciting, biggest, I'm going to say there's a lot of work that went behind this. 172 musicians took part and collaborated for this album. Kudos on you.
Thank you.
It's hard to work sometimes with 3 people.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what 172 people must have been like.
Pretty bonkers. It's a kind of ska punk folk album, but I keep joking that it's admin core because it was like half desk job, half actually making an album, which is ironic because musicians, we don't really want to have desk jobs. But no, it was really good fun putting it together. It was a lot of work. Like you say, I mean, whether it's 3 people in a band or 8, it's kind of hard to keep a tab on people. So keeping a tab on that many people, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's an ambitious program. Now, let's start from kind of how this started. Now, 4 years ago, I do want to say this album is raising money for charities. So you have 2, Centerpoint and Music for All.
Yeah, that's it. All the profits are going straight to them. We don't take a dime.
That's amazing. And so can we talk about 4 years ago and where you were and how you started? Now, you were the bassist for Fandangle, which is another ska band out of the UK, and you're actually out of the UK too. So 4 years ago, you're just hanging out and poof, idea in your head, 172 musicians, go.
If only it was that simple.
Oh.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that as I look back, I can kind of see the chain of events, but I don't know if there was a set path in my head back then. Like you said, I'd spent years playing in a band called Fandangle. We were touring, like, we were away from home like 300 days a year at times. It was pretty intense. That kind of turned into another band called New Riot. I then did another kind of skate ska punk band called Upbeat All Stars, and I left that a couple of years in. And I really love being in bands and I love touring. I think something in me just needed to stop and readjust how I was doing music for a while. But I carried on writing and writing. And I tried starting bands and nothing really started. And then eventually I was just missing all of my friends from tour. We were lucky in Fandangle and you're right. We've been out to the States and we've been all over Europe and all over here. And it was, we made friends with loads of awesome people, and I just kind of missed hanging out with them. And, like it's nice to chat online, but it's not the same as seeing them. And I was like, how cool would it be to like go and catch up and have beers with people and record with them and then record these songs with them? And that's kind of where the idea came from. It was like missing my friends and a way of making connections, meeting new bands. Because obviously a lot of bands had come out in that time when I wasn't touring, and I used to see all these bands at shows. So it was a good way of like finding new bands. Like, was it Justin Ackerman's What Do You Know About Ska Punk? When the first one came out, there's some American bands on this album that I found just by listening to that, and I was like, oh, they sound kind of cool. And I'd reached out to them and I was like, hey, so do you want to record on a song with someone you don't know? And this is years ago, so like back then, like collabs weren't quite so, like now collabs are quite a quite a happening thing, but back then I think people were probably like, who the hell is this? Like, who's this guy that wants to turn up and record? But that's kind of where the idea came from. And then I was away in Australia traveling, trying to be a travel photographer, and I'd done some homeless work over here, taking hot meals out to sort of homeless communities down in Devon. And I saw the homeless community behind St. Paul's Cathedral in Melbourne one night when I was catching up with friends, and we sort of went over and chatted to them. We ended up talking to them all night, and it was right before Christmas, and they were kind of telling us how it's sad that people walk by without really stopping to think why they're there. Kind of especially more poignant at that time of year. And it was one of those kind of that 24 hours. The idea went from, I was like, oh, we could like help people. We could like give away all the profits. We could just involve loads of cool people. We could come back and tell these stories, and that was it. I'd spent the rest of that holiday churning the idea over in my head. So I should have been looking out the window at nice, pretty things. I was like, so imagining this ska punk album in my head.
That's awesome. Now, often we don't think about how somebody has found themselves being houseless.
Yeah.
houseless or whatever reason, and a lot of it, you know, can be addiction, can be mental illness, can just be download. I've always said that we are just one big incident away from just losing it all.
Yeah.
And whatever that looks like, you know, we're like this. It's really that fast for a lot of people. And, you know, right now with the pandemic, and we definitely see that is, you know, it doesn't really take much. I see my friends right now in Texas, and they are going through what I could only imagine is hell. I'm in Canada, so I've been set up for this, but they haven't been. And, you know, maybe a natural disaster such as that can actually flip their whole lives upside down. So
absolutely, yeah,
it's, you know,
well, of course nowadays we, like, older generations, they would like, the culture was to save money away, and you would kind of grind that way, whereas nowadays we live really, I mean, I do it the same as anyone. We live kind of month to month or week to week, however you get paid. And there's no kind of collateral. If something was to happen, you've got the countdown's like a month or two, and then you're not paying rent. And landlords generally aren't very generous on that front.
No, I definitely, you know, I've always talked about a universal basic income, how important that is. And how, you know, just a small act such like that, it's maybe $3-4 a lot more per hour now, but it'll save you so much more in social aid later and down the line and everything like that. I don't know, I don't understand why people don't get it, that whole socialist idea and how it's bad. You know, taking care of others, to me, is not a bad thing.
No, it's important. Like, as society, we all have a responsibility to look after each other, for sure. Like, it's imperative, especially nowadays. Like, you know, the divides are wider, you know, and society's so kind of electronicized, and, you know, things are very, like, you have to have certain things to achieve certain things. You can't just write your name on a form anymore. You need to have had an email and stuff, and that stuff makes that hard. It get harder as you kind of, your luck goes down, and it's savage. So I think anything we can do to help others around us, you know, and same in the pandemic, even aside from things like poverty or whatever, like, just like mental health problems, and like people who are just feeling isolated and just need to chat, you know, reaching out to each other in these times, it's all crazy important.
All very important. Now we'll go back to the album. So your album's 14 songs. It's about, I want to say, 40 something minutes in length when I was checking,
something like that.
But what I thought was really neat about the album is the different elements. You can almost tell when it's somebody else who's singing or playing, or, you know, you can definitely tell through the song that, oh, this is a different drummer, because like the same song doesn't necessarily have the same drummer throughout it, or the same guitarist or everything. You kind of, like, you really have to fit 172 musicians. Feel like just 14 songs, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of personalities to get in there, that's for sure. And there's something like there's 4 drummers but 5 drum kit recordings on that album, which was that was the biggest pain in the bum to make, kind of, because I always wanted the album to flow. Like, I like albums. I know we live in a kind of like slightly more kind of single release kind of culture, maybe musically now, but I really like listening to an album start to finish, and I wanted the album to flow from start to finish. I didn't want it to sound like a compilation, you know, like, or like a Punkorama or something, where it's like, you know, it's obviously many different bands. Once you'd listen to it as a whole, so it's like a sort of solid commentary on the state in the world when we released it, I guess. So yeah, that was really important.
Yeah, the themes throughout your album, a lot of revolution, making change. You do touch a lot on mental health, which was amazing, and also hope. On that, you know, the flip side, was that kind of always the thought behind these songs when you were writing them?
Yeah, definitely. Like the demos were really rootsy when I started writing them, before this project came to be. The songs were all kind of songs like Black and Blue and Protesting, and they were very like, one of the reasons I came away from Upbeat All Stars is we were doing some sort of, not that I wanted to do like a completely political band or anything, but we were doing some things like that. But we also had like songs about Disney in culture. I kind of felt the need to do something that kind of spoke quite hardly, I suppose, and that's where they came from. So yeah, and it just never left. Whenever I send in songs out to people, the ones that were already complete, they'd obviously hear them and go, "Ooh, oh, there's obviously quite a theme here," and so it became, it just kind of established itself as a theme. But I'm glad we do. I think it's good to. I didn't want to kind of have the lyrics be flippant and be kind of throwaway lyrics. I wanted the album to feel like it meant something as well, especially as it's kind of, singers from different points in the world. So we've got kind of opinions and ideas from different continents. So yeah, it's kind of cool that it's like anything, isn't it? We all kind of make friends with people that probably share it's the same as when, I suppose, over there when like Trump was voted in, or over here when the Conservatives were voted in. Those of us that would maybe vote for the other side are like, I can't believe, that they got voted in. I don't never see people talk about it, but it's because we associate mostly with people with the same ideals. So yeah, I guess the album kind of proves that in a way. You kind of gravitate towards people that have the same ideas. But it's a very shouty album, granted.
Yeah, this album, it's ska, it's punk, it's folk. It really flows between the three. And I thought it was fun. There's a lot of songs on there that you almost have to listen to a second time to be like, oh, this is what this is really about, just because sometimes it's like you want to dance and at the same time the song's about protesting and like smashing the stage, so it's like, oh, yeah. You manage to deliver it in a fun way. And you don't have same lead singers throughout. There's a lot of different styles I found. You do have female-led singers too for some songs. There's songs that are definitely much harder. Your last song on it, I love. That's the one I've been playing. I can't.
Oh yeah, 11th Hour. Yeah.
Yes. Absolutely adored it. I thought it was so much fun, and I found there is some swearing, so if you have kids, you kind of have to watch out for a couple songs. But yes, I had it popped on, and my youngest was just like going around and just like, she didn't know this was about revolution or anything like that. She actually like genuinely enjoyed it. Was that kind of the idea, is to kind of just find something that appealed to really all the masses?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I mean, the idea was that the songs you could almost play on an acoustic and they'd have a festival vibe. I love skate punk and I love ska punk, but I just love shows that move, when the crowd just go wild and there's an energy in the room. And for me, like, ska punk does that like nothing else. Like, it's just, the room is always electric. And yeah, I kind of wanted that to be in the songs. I really like albums that feel like just feel like the band are in the room, still produced, but yeah, it's got that kind of like inherent. I suppose like old Goldfinger songs probably like that. They're very, very produced, but my God, like there's so much savagery in how they're played, and there's like the lyrics are fierce but catchy, and like I wanted it to have that all the way through. Apart from a couple of moments, obviously, where it's a bit gentler. Change the World's obviously kind of like reggae with strings and stuff, but then even that flips on its head and ruins its quiet vibe by the end.
Now, when you did do it, was the reception throughout really good? Were people kind of, especially, let's talk about 4 years ago when you first brought up your idea, were people like, maybe it wasn't like 40 people, because at the time, you talk about how people are just starting collaborations. The most often you would see was probably a split. You know, that's probably like a 5-song split, 2 bands. That is, to me anyways. Sometimes you had like Michael Jackson that brought in We Are the World once and had like 10 people. But there
have been some good ones actually like that, thinking about it. Some other like Live Aid ones and sort of, I suppose, festive charity songs. But
it's one song, not a whole album. And I think maybe the most you'll see is 20, if that. Was that kind of when you started the plan, like maybe like 10 people or 15 people, or was it like, I want to go with as many people as I can slam onto an album and see what happens?
I don't know. I mean, I remember joking at one point right at the start, and I was like, it'd be fun. Like, we'll end up with like 100 people on this album. It'd be silly. And that's where we had like probably 10, 20 people. I think in my head it was going to be like 50 people, that kind of thing. And like when I first reached out to people, it was so bizarre because I had nothing other than the bands I'd been in before. I didn't really have anything to say. I was like, hi. That's why we did the original Black and Blue video from 4 years ago, because I was like, when I started reaching out to people were like, don't really get it. And I was like, I'm gonna have to put a song out so people have something to visualize. So that's why that it's like we call it the promo version. It's like it just existed to like go, oh, this is what we are, hi. Which we did that video on Easter Sunday. I don't know if anyone watching has seen the video, but it's us walking down the seafront in Devon where I used to live, and there's about 8 people in it, 8 lovely friends who came and jumped around. We had like 40 people, and we were going to just kind of like do this mass gang thing down the promenade, and it'd just be kind of like, you know, the gang vocal chorus. But because it was Easter Sunday, pretty much everyone bailed on the morning. And we're all kind of sat there like, well, we'll make it work, but it's not quite as rousing as it was. But yeah, no, I think back then I was getting people involved. I booked plane tickets to go around the world, and it fell through last minute because I was doing a normal job in the background as well as producing bands at the time, and I'd kind of grown reliant on it. I hadn't really had a full-time job outside of music production or photo stuff for a long time. So when I did it, I was kind of like, oh, this is quite nice. This is quite good money. You can kind of take things a bit easier. And then they made me redundant a matter of weeks before I was going to do the trip, which completely scuppered everything, because then I just couldn't. I was like, I would have no money on the trip, and I couldn't get a job or get, you know, like when you're a freelancer, clients, they'll be like, yeah, cool, you reached out to us. Well, we're going to record in like 4 months. There's nothing immediate. So I was kind of stuck, and I pushed the flights back. We flew out to America. And a guy from another band from over here called King Tut's Revenge, another guy called Andy actually came out with me, and we did like 4 weeks, I think, going west to east across the States, which is when we recorded quite a few people. And that's when I started to realize, I was like, people see, like, it was really nice because we would there was mostly new people we'd never met, apart from a couple of bands I'd met in the old days. There's like it's a pop punk band in the States called Caradale, one called Thieves, and they'd played in the UK, and I'd driven them on tour in my old Up Your Stars van. So yeah, I kind of knew some people from then, but lots of people knew. And it was by the time we got to the East Coast, I was like, yeah, there's something in this. This is it's taken form into something else. And that's when I knew it would just keep growing until when it was done, it was done.
Yeah.
And then some other life stuff happened in the middle of it. So a couple of years in, I was kind of gaining momentum with it. Had a bit of an odd year, and then actually went and did 2 cycle rides for mental health charities, which took, they were a month a ride, so that's a large part of the year gone. And then by the time I finished that, I was like, right, let's get this album finished. Let's do it. Let's book some travel. Let's fill up the passport. My passport was about to like expire, so I was like, let's fill up the passport with stamps, and off we go. And then the coronavirus happened, which was really nice of it to just step in there and just dash the plans one last time. So yeah, then it became a remote project, and that's when it grew from, like, I think we were at 80 or 90 people, and it went from that to silly levels.
And isn't it amazing what we've been able to accomplish with the internet? I say it all the time on the show, like, thank God for the internet, because how would a little kid out of Canada be able to do what she's doing right now? Especially because I'm in the sticks. So it kind of gives the opportunity for people like me to, expand on our skill sets, or something that we normally wouldn't have done, which definitely is pretty cool. Like, that way, I'm sure you're going to be excited when you can travel again, and the amount of people that you're going to be seeing to just be like, hey, we work together, it's kind of like, give me a bit of a family reunion.
Yeah, there's so many of my conversations with people that have joined in remotely that I've never met before, because obviously, like, our album's called The First One, so I probably don't need to go into a lot of detail on the fact that this will probably happen again in some form. And yeah, all the conversations like, oh, I can't wait to see you, and we'll have a beer and shoot the breeze, and it's going to be so much fun. But it would never have happened, like I said, without the internet. Like, with all the connections you can make, like in a split second, or friends of friends, recommendations of friends. And normally you'd be given like a house number in the old days, and you'd be phoning someone like, hi, you don't know me. It just wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. You'd be like, no, you can't come to my house and record a song. What, are you mad? Like,
yeah, we grew up we're the same age. So we grew up in a time where we remember our childhood without internet. We were kind of, I want to say around 13 years old when the internet really started to kind of ICQ. I don't know if you remember ICQ, but that was kind of like the first chatting service. That was
I remember stuff like that.
Yeah, and then like MySpace came up, and then Napster, and then just kind of snowballed. Funny story, because we're here and might as well, right? And we're talking. So when I first started in television, it was kind of the start of, well, when I went to college, I didn't get to learn digital at all. So I kind of learned reel-to-reel audio. I learned tape-to-tape video. Digital came in the year after I graduated. Womp womp. So a lot of it I learned by myself because it was industry standard. But I remember going in business meetings for my work, because I work for a television station, and they were talking about YouTube, how it was the dumbest thing they'd ever seen in their lives. No one was ever going to watch YouTube. No one was ever going to pay attention because it wasn't television standard. That was why we were here. That's why they paid us, because why would they want to see some dog crap for free on YouTube of somebody fixing their car when you can do a whole show about it? Boy, were they wrong, man. When they finally, that light bulb swing and went like, oh shit, this is actually going to be a big thing, it was a little too late. And ultimately wound up almost killing off the television industry just because they never realized how, people crave content. They crave, things that are minute by minute. They don't want to wait between commercials. They ain't got time for that. And you can still do television standard from your living room. Look at us. We look great.
That's it.
But yeah, like you can do essentially a whole recording and a whole producing, mastering, mixing just from your office. And that's pretty cool, where people can just send you their recordings and, you make it nice.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're right. I don't know if they didn't see it coming, because I would say the music industry is partly in the same boat as that. Like, I don't know if they didn't see it coming, or if they just kind of were like, I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Like we're at the best party right now, so why would we want to, know what the party on the basement's like? And unfortunately, that basement party was growing and growing exponentially under their feet, and they just kind of, I feel like they didn't quite adapt in time. But I mean, like over here we've got the BBC, and they still make big budget shows. Obviously not quite to the budgets that Amazon and Netflix push into shows and films now, but yeah, it's just evolved now. It's evolved. Yeah. But yeah, like you said, we grew up in a world where I remember having I remember we had 4 TV channels at most.
Oh,
and it was when we had the 5th one, we couldn't even get it here because we live behind Glastonbury Tor, which is just over there. It's a really tall hill, literally right behind our house. And it blocked the signal from that other channel. It sounds ridiculous like now when you'd be like, well, I can't not. You can get anything on the net, any channel you want, you can watch, whatever show. And you're like, I couldn't get a 5th channel. There's a hill.
I know. I remember the old tube televisions that you had to adjust in the back for RBG and stuff like that. It would just be this little knob. And I remember my dad just being like, okay, I got to adjust the channel. And sure enough, he goes in the back there. And I'm like, oh, it's redder. He's redder. He's like, I didn't even touch anything. And I'm like, oh.
Yeah, we had a TV like that. It had a little drawer you pulled out and you could adjust loads of settings for the things. And it's like, what's the dad thermostat thing? You don't touch the thermostat.
Yes.
Same with the TV things. Be like, no.
The bunny
TV sets. Yeah. We had a storm. We just went down to 2 channels.
Oh, yes. Oh, gosh, yes. Yeah. And yeah, we had the same problem too, just because of the remoteness of where we were. Cable was kind of the last area that we would get. So yeah, we relied on antennas. Now antennas are completely obsolete. They don't hold any use. Everything's now digital, especially here. Yeah. In Canada, they're switching everything over. So it's just, and it's such a small time. We're not 40 yet. Eventually. But
don't want to know.
We're not 40 yet.
Not quite.
But yeah, just that evolution is so quick. I I'm always in awe as to how fast things really went. Once the internet really took off and that technology really started to be built, wow.
Yeah.
You can even, and like, what's kind of what is the next set? Like, internet, you kind of have a wealth of information at your fingertips anywhere. This is a computer that we carry and we find out everything we want from it. It's just, I don't know how old I sound. I really don't. I probably sound like a little old lady going like, oh man, I remember the internet,
But I mean, we genuinely did watch it develop, and it is the new mainstream now. Like that it is the new antenna, and tuning the TV in. We like most smart TVs are in homes. You watch TV kind of streams.
Like, you tell your TV what you want instead of using a remote anymore. You're just like, hey TV, put on Modern Family, and TV's like, okay.
But it is like, you watch it when you want, which is the best bit. Like, you're not tied, you're not like, must get home by 8 to watch this show. You're like, no, there's none of that. You just, I will watch you when I want to watch you. And it's totally revolutionized everything.
I kind of remember, I don't know if you watched The Simpsons or not, but the future episode where Lisa and like Marge are talking over a video phone, which would now be Skype or like just, but it's just when Lisa's older, and I can't remember for sure the whole episode, but I remember Marge being old, and then they're on like a video call, and at the time I was like, that'll never happen.
Yeah.
How dumb is that?
It's so sci-fi. Yeah.
Yeah, so sci-fi.
But now,
you're in the UK.
We're literally doing it. We're doing that right now.
Yeah, right now it's crazy. So for the album, because we sidetracked ourselves. Just so you know, this happens. You're not the only one. We get excited over here, guys. Good. But yeah. So are there? Without divulging, you did say that this was the first one. You recently just released Frantic, so your newest video. It's a black and white video, and it has like you guys playing. Because this is pandemic, you guys didn't decide to do the video together. It's all different clips of you guys and clips of like protests and other, and the message that you're trying to put in throughout that. Have you guys been able to, like, are you still playing with Fandangle, or is there like an actual like touring band for Andy B, or kind of how's that work?
So we have got a live band put together, kind of a UK lineup for now, because we've been we can't really announce the show, because I don't want to kind of promise show dates that might not happen. But we've got an album, and a sort of belated album release show in London, kind of lined up in the plans. Another show with it, and then we're kind of into part 2 of what we're doing at that time. So we're kind of going back, assuming the pandemic allows, because we also want to make sure we're safe in everything we do. We'll be kind of back and forward in between that, and then coming back to do shows, then going off to full complete part 2. And then I think the plan is very much because we actually keep getting offers to play things all over the place, like not just in this country but all over, and I'd like to be able to do them for sure. So I've been kind of putting together things. I've got a couple of friends as a bit of a team this time, because I did the whole first one more or less kind of alone, and there's a lot of work, and what we're doing next is a bit more ambitious. So I was like, before I have an aneurysm and just keel over on my studio table, I might give a couple of jobs to mates that want to help out. But there's definitely plans to do it. Fandangle do still play as well. Like we haven't played for a little while. We sort of, after we split up and turned a different band and everyone went their separate ways, we got back together in 2014 or 2015 to play Slam Dunk Festival over here, and then we did some dates with. It was supposed to be with Goldfinger, but I think that's when John broke his leg or his arm. So it ended up being us, Zebrahead, and MC Lars, which was kind of all mates of ours anyway, which was nice. Yeah. But we've done the odd show here and there. We did like a 10th anniversary of our old Flyaway album, but we haven't done much. But every time Adam lives over there. Adam lives in LA, so he's it makes it a little bit harder. Can't just kind of have a practice. Yeah,
because in my head I was like, I hope they tour this album, because the songs on it are really good. They would fit any show, any bill you could dream. You guys would be a good act to go before, after, headline, why not, right? Like, you fit anywhere. It's not music that you just is specific to any type of show. It really goes anywhere. But yeah, in my head, I was like, ooh, how many people did you have as your core? And was there a core for this album? Like, was there the initial, say, the songs are laid out by like 4 people, but then you just kind of add on from there? Or are the songs completely different people all throughout?
Pretty different. I mean, like, the one recurring theme is that the songs have me at the sort of writing and arrangement stage. There was 2 songs that were kind of co-written or co-arranged, but that me in the middle is, I suppose, what keeps it tied together in some way, I suppose, because I must have obviously 38, got a bit of a style on the go now in terms of music. But as a core, like, picking the live, to be honest, with the live band, I've just been kind of picking people that kind of seemed up for it, really. Like, like people that I know would be able to play it, people I know that have been, like, generally in bands I've toured with before, so I already kind of know them well anyway, or they just are fun and I know they'll nail it, because in Fandangle we were a bit of a party band and probably had a reputation as such as a bit of a nightmare. And as such, our live shows probably, I mean, we played enough shows, I mean, it could probably flip and add 10 pints and still played the bass lines quite happily. We played them so much, but I don't think the live show was great. And I'd like this to be kind of fun, but also I would love to like nail the live shows and kind of be like, yeah, these songs, that's how they should sound, rather than like, oh my God, where are we in the song? Who's doing what? Like, so, yeah, I think the people chosen will be cool. And also we've got the option, like, I could literally fly to a different country and pick up have a different lineup in a different country and play shows anywhere. That's one really nice thing with this project. So if there was like, if someone said, oh, do you want to come to LA and play this show, the budget's not very big, I could be like, well, I could probably make this happen. And I'm not the singer, so literally anyone can pick up and kind of sing it, which is nice. It's what I used to like about bands like Sublime. It was there was an inherent specialness in the way Brad sung and like how they played as a 3-piece, but really the music they played, anyone could play it. Same thing I love about Bob Dylan. Like, it's really accessible music. You can pick up a guitar and play that. Like, it's it's not like some tech masterpiece. Much as I love tech skate punk, I really do. It's like my absolute passion. But like things like that are, it's anyone can do it, and I love that. I really wanted to have that kind of vibe. So that will carry through to the live shows. If anyone's like, I like yeses, so I'm like, if anyone's like, oh, can I come and join at this live show? I'd be like, yeah, of course you can. And if they are able to do the whole show, great. If they only really got the kind of things together to do a bit of a song, then
why not?
There's no reason to not include them. But yeah, I think things will happen in that vein. But as for the album, there's a drummer that's on at least half the album called Nick, and he was the Upbeat All Stars drummer, and he just happened to be the only drummer around that I knew that could play double time really well. So he because there's a couple of songs that didn't make the album that were ferociously fast, and yeah. And I always say, like, if you like cut my arm, well, it would hurt to don't cut my arm, it would suck, but the like bone would be like Checker, and then the blood would be like skate punk, like that's like I came up on bands like like Trashed era, Lagwagon and things like that, like really really fast, like old 10-foot poles, Titanic Surfers, that kind of thing. And it's kind of, we found a way to involve that in what we do next as well as what we do. I won't say any more than that, but yeah, there's some ferociously fast things happening as well as some what we do stuff happening, all under the same name.
Kind of resemble a nice split. It's kind of,
yeah,
in the simplest of terms. I don't want you to divulge too much because, bad Terry, I tend to do that to people. So I'm going to.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think there's like a kind of, like, the end of Change the World on the album is kind of a giveaway to like the other side that's always kind of present, I guess. Like, there's a very fast element that's always kind of like, scrabbling to get out. And because we did something nuts. Like, I was reaching out to people like Jim Lindbergh from Pennywise, and the guys from like Angelo from Bracket and Dennis from 10-foot pole. Like, we'd played with 10-foot pole years ago, and like kept in contact with them ever since in some small way. And so remember reaching out to him. I was like, I would love for you to be on this. I know it's ska punk, but hear me out. And same with Angelo from Bracket, and he listened to some songs and he was like, I really like this one. It's kind of it's a bit different. And I mean, like the Bracket guys, I always think they're more about melody than sort of straight ahead punk anyway. So it was kind of cool to get them involved. But I've had a fair few of my friends, like a lot of my friends are like, we would listen to things like Chicks Dig It and I don't know, old Suicide Machines and stuff. And like no, same. And like they were all like, how on earth have you got them playing on a ska punk album? And I'd be like, yeah, it's a bit weird, granted. So like, and then we had Jim was lovely. Jim genuinely, I reached out to Jim randomly and he was like, he listened, he was like, yeah, okay, let me check it out. I'm up for the idea. He listened to the songs. I sent him what I would have liked him to sing, and he was like, he came back really honest. He's like, I love the songs. He's like, we've been doing what we do for a long time, and I don't think I'm going to do them justice and this kind of thing. And he was so nice to deal with. But at that point, I was like, that was like the last click in my head, and I was like, we have all these kind of very fast things as well, and I was like, I'd like to utilize those as well as what we do. And it means what we do normally, there's obviously a little bit of a pop tinge in there, a little bit. I always feel like pop's not as dirty a word as it would have been 10 years ago when we did this kind of music. But like, there's a little element of it in there, which means we can probably let that flourish a bit more whilst keeping it quite angry. And then the other, anything that's fast, it wouldn't necessarily fit, can just go into IGN number 3. But yeah, I don't know. We just want to include lots of people because
it's fun.
I mean, yeah, exactly. It's just nice to include people. And 172 people is a lot of people, but can we beat that?
I think so. But yes, you brought in a great point. It's a lot of us who love ska also love skate, also love rockabilly, also love pop. And sometimes you have people that are just, I'm probably one of the biggest, violators. Bad Terry is that I tend, because I grew up in that 90s skate punk era, to be stuck in it. So, and you know this too, I am sure, because we all grew up with that, the Pennywise, the Lagwagons. I am a huge fan of Lagwagon just because of their melodies. But they have little those rockabilly, so I'm a huge fan of like that Adolescence and, Western Addiction has a bit of that too, which falls back into that rock part. But I'm glad to hear you say that we're gonna stay ska, and ska's gonna be a big part of it, but we're gonna evolve our sound too. And at the end, I think that's a good idea because you're gonna hit more people, right? You're gonna hit more streets, more people you never thought that you would actually be reaching out to, and definitely in the skate punk side, because I love it. I'll find some folks. I'll help you out. And I'm sure you can talk to people too. But yeah, I'm glad to see that you guys aren't just like these albums are going to be ska and ska only, and that is it. And no, you've actually written stuff that is a bit out there, a little bit different than this album. And that's cool to hear because, most people tend to they do what they like, and they don't try to just get outside their box a little bit. And then sometimes I find like some great people come up with some fantastic, do I call these products? I guess songs. Just because they just tweak something sometimes, just a little bit. They change their sound a little bit, and it made all the difference. That's a huge reason why I love splits, is because sometimes you can get 2 genres of the same song into one album, which is, amazing.
No, absolutely. Especially when they kind of, do inventive things like when you had Bad Vision No Effects play each other's songs and things like that. There's just so many.
No Effects is another one.
Yeah.
Completely different. They're just, apples and
But it goes so well. I mean, it's obviously like, it probably goes with no surprise listening to our album. I love Frank Turner as well. The angsty feeling in what he does is kind of, well, I mean, there's obviously a Bob Dylan side to what we do, and Frank Turner I just see as a kind of evolution of that same thing, really, that kind of same style. But it's great when they I couldn't believe it, to be honest, when NoFX and Frank Turner did that split. When someone sent me a video and I was like, this has got to be a spoof video, surely there's no way that's happened.
The videos are what makes it, like, that's the cream on top, it's so the white tracksuits, they're perfect. I can't even wait. fantastic.
Yeah.
Fantastic job. And just to come up with that idea, you know, like, because they had that little, I don't want to say it was a rivalry because it was a friendly one, but still, it was fun as somebody who was stuck home during pandemic that needed a laugh here and there to see something kind of evolve from this. That wasn't just like,
no, definitely.
one song. And I hope to see that with you guys. Like, I hope to see, you know, with your new video and people just loving it. And eventually when you guys do go back to touring, I'm going to assume that you're going to see us in the Americas.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's probably actually more, for the style of music we're playing, there's probably actually more people over there that would enjoy what we do than over here.
Really?
Yeah, like our Spotify, I mean, I suppose you'd imagine it with the population size, but our Spotify like split it's very America heavy. And I think it's like America here, like obviously here. Canada's very high up there, and then random bits of Europe and Australia, which we'd figure because we've got some friends in Australia, so we've been really lucky they've been playing us over there, so that's kind of helped. But yeah, because we released it without a music video, which is kind of not how you release an album.
No.
I just did a really goofy little 45-second promo video and put it on YouTube, and we're like, let's share that. I swear most people must have watched it and been like, what? What is that?
I remember I found out about it. I don't know if it was like your Facebook promo or something like that, because it's just a little tiny blurb, but it had something with 172 musicians. That was kind of the first thing I went like, whoa, you know, what is this? Because especially here with what we're trying to do here at Riot Squad, it's a lot of collaboration, it's community, it's something that we've always talked how important the punk community is, because it's not a massive community. Eventually you're kind of 6 degrees of separation from somebody who can completely help you out. And the great thing about this community is the willingness of people to help you out. You know, they're
Absolutely.
not willing, you know, oh, punk. I can always go, and I talk about this very often, is you kind of look at, we were kind of the trailblazers about inclusion and talking about love for all and unity and, you know, doing things like removing police to put more towards mental health initiatives. And now that we're kind of like seeing like inclusion courses through work, I'm just like floored every time, because I'm like, I've known about this for 25, 30 years. Like, why is this now a thing? It's crazy to me. And to see your album, which is a very huge, you know, endeavor. I can't even imagine the hell 4 years. Like, that's a long project for anything.
Just be very good friends with this, basically.
Yeah. You mean like, do the keys even work? But yeah, it's, you know, to see that community come through, especially through your album, it's fantastic. And that's really the thing that drew me to it was, you know, I didn't hear a song off of it, was the idea of that there was a massive community that rallied behind you to make this happen. I thought was awesome.
Sure.
Now, do you know how many countries took part? We know 172 musicians, but do you kind of have a number?
No, I've never counted, but it's obviously America, here, Canada. There's someone from Argentina, someone from Chile, someone from there's obviously people from Norway and all over Europe. There's also people from Australia. There's people from like Latvia and countries like that up in the northeast of Europe.
Lithuania.
Yeah, there's a lot. I'm not very good at it because there's so many. My brain I have a bit of a brain fart whenever I try to think of it, and I have to really delve into my thoughts to remember where everyone was. But it's pretty far reaching.
You know, we could probably say maybe 20 countries were involved in this, 25.
I would have thought so. Yeah, I mean it's pretty spread, and it's it was to be fair, actually, when I kind of completed it, I was looking at the countries involved, and I realised what areas we'd left out because we didn't get to travel as much as we wanted to. And so that's, I would say, like, about what we want to do next is we want to include, we want it to be global. So we want to include musicians and cultures from all around onto one thing.
Were you able to hit the continents? Like, is there there's 7 continents, so were you able to get somebody from every continent on this album, except for Antarctica, obviously? But
not on the first one. I would imagine we're probably at 5 continents. 4
Oh,
continents.
that's still pretty impressive. Like, gosh, I'm floored. If people don't know, there's 197 countries, 7 continents. It's a lot of people, and you covered a lot of ground with just hitting up 5 continents. It's amazing. So kudos to you.
Thanks.
Now,
but the hope is we can now actually, we want to like the ideal is to do all of them in some way.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on at the moment. Like you say, inclusion is the name of the game here. Like we kind of like to sort of promote unity and ambition together. And like when I looked at the sort of, like we didn't do Africa, and I was like, I want to do that next time. Like I just feel like we should. Like it's, we're a global music scene, and there's elements of not ska on the album. Like we've got the bassist from Hasty Dixie's playing on it, and they're very much a bluesgrass kind of band. And I want to do more things like that. Kind of things you wouldn't necessarily find in the style, bringing them in.
And that, at the end can only help you. They're promoting this through a different fan base, and that's, we're stronger in numbers. That's
absolutely
something I've always believed in. And the fact that it's going to a charity is only, the icing on top. Again, it's fantastic that you're not wanting to keep this for yourself. You want to help people with this. And we didn't touch much about Music for All. So do you mind just talking about that one a little bit? Because I think it's a fantastic charity as well.
Yeah, sure.
Center Point is for houselessness, but yeah, Music for All.
Yeah, so I mean, something I think is really important is everyone has the chance. Like music can be very like kind of life changing. Any art can really, like, for people to experience in their lifetime, and kind of not everyone has the chance. Not everyone can afford to. Like even picking up a guitar for 30 quid is not an option to some people. And then learn how to play it and things like that. So Music for All kind of step in with like either donated lessons or donated instruments, or they sort of help facilitate grants for community projects or communities, groups and stuff like that. So you can have like group lessons and things. And I just think that's rad. Like it was when we started out, I knew that we'd be some form of homeless charity, and Centrepoint sort of deal very specifically with youth homelessness, which I feel is quite important. As we entered the pandemic, it became a clear choice for now, because I think that's kind of it's just really hard times. I mean, education's kind of shut down in itself, let alone if you don't have a roof over your head. And Music for All was all like something to do along those lines was always in the plan. And then when I found Music for All through some research, but obviously they're both very English charities, which is great. We're not going to raise like £1 million with the album, so it's better that we raise a kind of decent amount of money for 2 institutions rather than small amounts of money for lots of maybe we wouldn't help as many people. We can help to organizations more, but next time we want to try to do that on a slightly more global scale. So if we're involving musicians from around the world, how can we sort of look out for charities and organizations where they come from as well? So it's not just here, we're kind of expanding our effort around the world, and so that's important too, I think.
That's the good thing about shows, right? Often when you do shows, you can encompass that charity, even if it's just a merch table or something like that. Unfortunately, we don't have that. Maybe my wheels are working like, hey, maybe you throw in a merch table virtually for everybody. But there are organizations out there. Punk Rock Saves Lives is one that always comes on in my head for the great work that they do, especially when it comes to mental health. But yeah, I definitely wish you a lot of success going forward with this, especially on your tour. If and when that happens, people, make sure you get that vaccine when it does come out, please.
Yes.
We want to go to shows. I got Camp Pennsylvania that I can't even get to Pennsylvania for right now because the border's closed. So yeah, we want to get going. Now, Andy, we have come to the end of our show. The vinyl for this is sold out from what I was seeing, or was there vinyl? It was always digital, right? It was
there's still some vinyl left. Yeah, the vinyls there's vinyl at our record label's site, which is pookoutrecords.co.uk, and it does ship worldwide. Brexit over here made a bit of a mess of postage, but we have figured out ways around it. So if you're in America or Canada and you'd like it, just message us, and we have found some ways to make it a little bit easier on a kind of grassroots level. And it's also available digitally from our Bandcamp, which is andybandtheworld.bandcamp.com.
And then you also have the poster and the album art. That's it's like a booklet too.
Yeah, there's part of the reason I really wanted to do vinyl was, other than it's really pretty, it's a nice way to showcase artwork, is that you get to have a booklet that's 12 inches by 12 inches. And so yeah, the vinyl, and you can buy it if you buy it digitally. You can buy the booklet as well. There's some extra photos in the vinyl that aren't in the booklet, but the booklet has like 400 and something photos in it. So the photos are all from around the world, like as we traveled doing it, and literally everything in it is handwritten. Mostly partially because I'm a terrible graphic designer, and so you know, like when you see posters and the font choice is just you shake your head. You're like
Comic Sans.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And the more fonts I download, it gets worse and worse. So I was like, I really like playing with Sharpies. My handwriting's not horrendous, and it would be nice to revisit everyone. And I was petrified of leaving anyone out, so I just handwrote them all. Wow. And took pictures of them, and that's what's in there. And then I got some of the vocals. Some of the lyrics were handwritten by the actual singers and stuff. One of them we actually brought back from Tony from the Main Street Suite. He wrote them out, and he just gave it to me at the end of the day when we recorded them. He's like, there you go, mate, just in case you need them. And I kept them in my backpack, and they have literally been in the same backpack until I got them out a couple of months ago. And I was like, yeah, there we go. And then they go, and just stuff like that. So yeah, the booklet's a product in itself. It tells the story of everything. Because it kind of needs to go, like the album, because we managed to make it like a cohesive work. You could listen to the album and kind of forget there's that many people on it at a time. So I think the booklet, if you've got it in front of you, like, oh my god, it's a lot of people.
Yeah, I can't. I do want to wonder, like, when you do record the song, do they just do the whole run through the song, or do they actually like send it to you in like clips of the song? Because I kind of want to know real quick how that process works, because in my head the whole song.
It depends really. Like the vocalists that recorded their own vocals, I just the ones that wrote their own lyrics rather, I just let them have free reign. So when I was over there and we recorded like Jenny from TEF London or Tony from Main Street Sweep, we just turned up and we just kind of just recorded like a normal recording session really. But when I was sending it out to people, or like horn parts that were already written, I was trying to get people to send specific bits if I could, because once it really got going, when a lot of people said yes, I remember I spent about a week and I was just up all evening every night sending out files, and I was trying to do everyone tailored files or mixes for their one part, and so it just took forever. And then when they started coming back in, I was like, all right, that's a lot of work. I hope you're ready to sit on your bum for the next 3 months, Andy. And that's literally what I did. And it was I was thankful that I think it was only a couple of people where I had to kind of back and forth, and I was like, can you resend it in this way or just change this and that. I tried to be pretty all encompassing and allow people to kind of have their creative freedom in it, but obviously there's got to be an element of control in there as well, otherwise it would just be a free-for-all, and it would then sound like a compilation of different bands, be
too much razzle dazzle.
Yeah, that's it. And like it's like that last track you mentioned, 11th Hour, so I don't know, I'm playing with my remote. It's that under the rapping there's like trumpet and sax solos, and that's purely because that song came about in the most bizarre way. And before I let Jake do the vocals, before I had that thought, he's the bassist from Upbeat All Stars from years ago. I'd fielded out to like Ed, my friend, plays sax, and a couple of trumpet players, and I was like, do you guys just want to do solos on it? I don't really know what to do with the song. And it kind of came about that way. So that's an example of what happens when you just say yes to anything, because I just threw it all in there. But it's slightly more refined than that, but like just chucked it all in there, and that was the end result. It's an absolute it's sonic chaos, but it totally worked, because it is my favorite song on that album. Like I said, I just kept playing it over and over again. Nice.
Quite a few people like that song. Yeah, but it is more to my style. I am a fan of it. I was a fan of all of it, but that one really, I thought it was really fun. So yeah, Andy, thank you so much for taking time to talk.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
You know, I can't wait to see what number 2 or the second one or the third one or the fourth one or the fifth one. You know, don't burn yourself out, because I can only imagine what it looked like in your email or retransfer folder for a while. Oh my gosh, it'd probably be crazy. Were you working on one song at a time, or were you just
everything? And there was a couple more songs. There was probably 17 songs originally. There's a couple of songs didn't happen in the end. There's a couple of songs that I kept sending out and just kept coming back as kind of like, we didn't know what to do with this, and I was like, they need a rewrite, I think then. But yeah, on the whole, all in one go, everyone at the same time, crazy.
Yeah,
lots of computer time.
You are definitely one of the most ambitious people I know in the scene, and a huge kudos to you for that. It was really a masterpiece, and I don't know if anyone else would have been able to handle it, and I can't wait for you to cross over to the big pond on our side and come visit, because I will definitely hit up a show when that happens. But again, I want to say a big thank you for you coming on. Yeah, if you want to check out Andy B and the World, the first one, you can go to all streaming platforms. You can go check, which was the PK UK Records, and go pick up a vinyl and that pretty cool album cover. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Take it easy.
Times, molly-coddled boys in pressed white shirts and ties. They are vocal, they are loud, but they're not saying anything worth writing about. Men's rights and pro-life vitriol. Masculinity is so damn fragile. Well, excuse me while I tune out. So what you talking about? Your status quo is under threat, there is no doubt. Ain't no revolution, ain't no change. You're an echo from a time that's left behind. Ain't no answers, ain't no new point of view. If you think you're onto something, well, my friend, you're fucking high. Angry men and angry boys, picket signs and tiki torches are their new toys. Well,